Okay, section 3.4 covers slope-intercept form of the equation of a line. And we probably or may remember slope-intercept form is that y equals mx plus b format. So a lot of times we've seen them in ax plus by is equal to c format, where a, b, and c are constants. And this is called the standard form of a linear equation. So now we're going to just talk about the slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. And basically all you're doing is solving for y, making sure y is over here by itself, and mx plus b. Now your slope, as we talked about before, is the m. So if it's in this format, if we put it in y equals mx plus b, it's just easy to tell what's the slope. It's always that m, that number that's in front of x. And then the y-intercept, and remember from when we found our intercepts, the y-intercept is just going to be this number that's down here at the end plus b, and that's the point where it crosses that y-axis. And so things are just really easy to graph if they're put in this slope-intercept form. So just in this example, the equation y is equal to 2x minus 4, well, 2 is the m, which is your slope, and negative 4 is the b term, which is your y-intercept. So the y-intercept in that equation is negative 4, and the slope is at 2. So let's just do a few examples of those where we're going to identify what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. Well, y is equal to 5x minus 3. Well, remember, this is, y is equal to mx plus b. So it's in that format already. So m, in this case, is equal to 5. And m is our slope. So slope is 5. The y-intercept is that number that's at the end, the y equals mx plus b. So it's the one that's here at the end, but we've got to make sure we carry that sign with it. So the y-intercept is negative 3. So what about in this case? Y is equal to 2/3 x plus 4. Well, what's m in this case? What is my slope? Well, slope here is going to be the number that's in front of the x, so 2/3. The y-intercept is this positive 4 at the end. Or what about this one? 7x plus y is equal to 6. Well, it's not in y equals mx plus b format, so we've got to put the equation in y equals mx plus b. So notice when I wrote up the standard form up here at the top, ax plus by is equal to c, there's no m in that equation. So we don't know what the slope is until we actually put it in this y equals mx plus b format. So let's just solve for y. So we're going to subtract 7x from both sides. Well, the 7x and the 6 are not like terms, so they cannot be joined together. And you just want to get in that habit of putting that x value first, because that is the y equals mx plus b format. So even though it's negative, we're going to put negative 7x plus 6. Well, now we've put it in that y equals mx plus b format. So our slope here is the negative 7. And our y-intercept is at 6. So hopefully that's easy enough for you to sort of recognize what those are when you're working with these linear equations. But we're just going to remember that in order to know what the slope and the y-intercept is, we're going to make sure that we put it in y equals mx plus b. So we're going to learn how to graph them using that y equals mx plus b format. And the first thing we're going to do is first make sure it's in y equals mx plus b. Then the second thing we're going to do is make sure that we plot that y-intercept. Remember the point where it crosses that y-axis. So all we're going to do is look for that b and say 0b and plot that point on our graph. Then from that y-intercept point, we're going to plot our slope, rise over run. So in this case, we have got a slope, or y is equal to 3x minus 2. So here our slope is 3, our y-intercept is at -2. So the first thing we're going to do is plot the y-intercept. And that is at 0, -2. So we're going to take a point and plot it right there. Now from that point we're going to do rise over run with our slope. And we have a slope of 3. So that's rising up 3, running over 1. So from that point that we just plotted, that y-intercept, we're going to go up 3 units. So 1, 2, 3. Then we're running over 1. So notice everything is positive. So we went up +3. We ran over +1. So we can keep doing that because the slope continues throughout the whole line. So 1, 2, 3 over 1. 1, 2, 3 over 1. So you see how we've sort of made this nice little stair step that's an even stair step all the way up. And I can say, can you agree with me that 3 over 1 would be the same thing as -3 over -1? Well, yeah, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So let's just go down 3. 1, 2, 3. We went down -3. Then we're running over -1. Is that falling in line still with my other points on the line? Yes, it is. So you can see that we can make points going both ways from that y-intercept if we want to. And so that is how we graph that line, given the slope and the y-intercept. All right, so we have another example. Y is equal to 3/5 x plus 1. So we're going to start at the y-intercept, which is at +1. So we're going to go over to the y-axis and plot +1. And then we have a slope that is 3 over 5. So we're going to rise up 3 units. So we're going to run over 5 units. And everything is positive. So let's rise up 3. 1, 2, 3. Run over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, I can do the same thing. I can go down -3, 1, 2, 3, and over -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because -3 over -5 is the same thing as +3 over +5. And you see how that's creating that straight line. So I could create just the 2 points if I want to, or I can create more if I need to, but that's how we're going to graph these. All right, so now we're going to graph 3x plus 4y is equal to 0. So what's wrong with this one? Well, it's not in y equals mx plus b format, so we've got to solve this equation. It's got to be in y equals mx plus b in order to graph with the slope and the y-intercept. So we've got 3x plus 4y is equal to 0. So we've got to subtract our 3x from both sides. So we have 4x is equal to -3x plus 0. And you can leave that 0 off, or you can leave it in there. It doesn't really matter. But now we've got to divide everything by 4, because that y is still not by himself. So now we've got y is equal to -3/4 x plus 0 still. And you can leave that off if you want to, but I'm going to leave it on there so that we see where is our y-intercept. Our y-intercept in this case is at 0. So it's going to cross right there at our origin, 0, 0. Then we have a slope of -3 over 4. Okay, so -3 over 4. Would you say that's the same thing as 3 over -4? Is that the same thing as -3 over 4? Yes, it is. Remember, a negative divided by a positive is still a negative. So it doesn't really matter where you put that negative sign. So I can go down 3, 1, 2, 3, but only one of those can be negative. So that means I've got to go positive now on the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I could do the same thing if I wanted to go up. I could say positive 3, but then I would have to do negative 4. So one of those terms you've got to make negative, but only one of them. And then we're going to connect those dots, creating the line that's for that equation. And notice we have a negative slope. He points down, right? We're walking down a hill. We're going down the escalator, not up the escalator. So that's our negative slope, which corresponds with our equation over here. So we know that we did it correctly. All right, let's do another example. Again, this one has to be put in y equals mx plus b format. So 5x minus 2y is equal to 10. Well, let's subtract our 5x because we want the y over here all by itself. And remember, get in that habit of putting the x value first. Those are not like terms, so they cannot be joined together. All right, so now we're going to divide by -2, and we have to divide everything by -2. Remember, if I do it to one term, I've got to do it to all the terms. Well, that leaves us with the equation y is equal to, all right, be careful, -5 divided by -2. That makes it positive. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. And then 10 divided by -2 is a -5. Okay, so where's the y-intercept in this equation? It's at -5. What's the slope? 5/2. So let's go plot that. All right, y-intercept's at -5, so here we go. We're going to put a dot down here, a point at our -5. Then we're going to use our slope, and we're always remembering we're going to rise up 5 because it's +5, and then we're going to run over 2 because it's +2. And we can do that again if we want to. Run up 5/2. Should be in that spot. Okay, so now we're going to connect the dots, and we have graphed the equation of that line. So I know you have a tool that's in my math lab that helps you do these. Be sure to enlarge it. I know that there's a little button on the side that allows you to enlarge that so you can see those numbers a little bit better and be able to plot those, and just make sure that you're looking up in that upper right hand corner, because then you can tell that you're specifically on a point. So I hope that helps. If you have any problems, any questions, be sure to ask them or talk to us all in Slack. Thank you so much. Bye.